Welcome to Taking Control of Your Financial Life podcast, providing the simple answers to the complex questions asked about your financial future. Let's get you the answers you need about retirement, investing, asset planning, and the current market. Here's your host, Julian Rubenstein.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Taking Control of Your Financial Life. My name is Julian Rubenstein, and I'm the host of this podcast. I'm also the president of American Asset Management, a registered investment advisor located in Boca Raton, Florida. I'm very excited about today's show as we are fortunate to have Edsel Machado, an immigration attorney with his own firm, Machado Guerrero Immigration Consultants, as our guest today. So please join me in welcoming Edsel to the podcast. Hello, Edsel.
Hi, Julian. How are you?
Good. Thanks for taking the time to be with us. I'm actually really excited. We've never had an immigration attorney on the podcast. And as we spoke earlier before we got started, you actually have a unique twist to it because it's not just immigration, it also ties into business. So why don't you, with that, tell us a little bit about your practice and yourself.
So, yes, I'm a native of Puerto Rico. I've been practicing law since 2014. I've moved to the U.S. 2018, which was after the hurricanes in Puerto Rico. And yeah, we do a little bit of everything here in my office, but we like to specialize in business immigration, which allows people from other countries to come into the U.S. to, work, do business, and just come over with their families and live in the U.S.
Now, are certain countries easier to come in from than others?
Definitely. Specifically when we're talking about, investment visas, what's called the E2 or treaty traders, which are the E1. Those are specific visas that are available to specific countries. For example, the UK, Spain, Colombia, Mexico, Argentina, just to name a few. So yes, some countries have specific visas where it's easier for them to come into the US.
That's interesting. I thought Colombia was very hard to get a visa to come into the US.
Well, it is if you're looking for maybe a tourist visa, but when it comes to business immigration, it's a little bit different. Obviously, they do have the Colombian peso, which is a little bit weaker than the US dollar. So, maybe for them, it's a little bit more expensive to make use of the investment visa, but it's definitely available to them.
And when you say investment, do they have to come in and start a business or they can come here and get a job?
No, they would have to start their own business. They would have to invest a certain amount of money into either creating their own business or they can purchase an existing business or even a franchise.
Oh, is there a minimum that they have to spend?
We do recommend a minimum of at least $100,000, but the law does not state a minimum. It just says that the investment has to be substantial. We just feel that, $100,000 is substantial enough.
I'm just curious, what business can you start or buy that passes the smell test for $100,000?
There are a couple out there, specifically if you start your own, it's a little bit easier in that sense. Because obviously when you're talking about, purchasing either an existing business or a franchise, it might take you a little bit over that $100,000 threshold. But, it could be anything from a consulting company to a restaurant, even a car wash.
Oh, okay. Very interesting. So, and do people do this because they really want to make money or they really just want to come here and end up getting a job?
A little bit of both. They are limited, however, specifically the principal beneficiary of the visa is limited in the sense that he can only work for that company that he created or purchased. But let's say, for example, the spouse, they can work for whomever they want. So this is pretty much maybe the first step into them getting a permanent residency in the United States. But, the E2 is still a non-immigrant visa, meaning that they would have to take additional steps if they want to make it permanent.
Very interesting. So how did you get into this aspect of the law with all the, so many areas of law? What made you choose this?
Well, actually, my mother, she's from the Dominican Republic. So I've lived through, the whole situation of having family members immigrate into the U.S., which I always found a little bit interesting. So I would say that, it stems mainly from that, the fact that, my family has immigrated to the U.S.
Got it. And you told me before you recently just left another firm and is starting your own practice. So tell us about that.
That is correct. It's been a little bit challenging as, anything when you're starting from scratch. But I'm happy to say that, things have been moving forward. We've gotten a couple of clients. We've recently been on a trip down to Colombia to meet certain investors that are willing to come over to the U.S. So, everything has been running smoothly.
That's great. So how long have you been practicing law?
2014 now. So it's going to be 9 years in August.
So what do you wish you knew when you started that you know now? I love to ask that question.
Well, I'm a first generation attorney in my family, so pretty much any information would have been good, given that, I had no knowledge whatsoever of what it meant to be an attorney. I had no guidance. So I would say mainly practice management, really. They don't teach you how to manage your own law firm when you're in law school.
You're probably right. They want you to be lawyers, not businessmen, right?
Correct.
Yeah, my daughter's actually starting law next year. She's L2 this year.
Oh, awesome. Best of luck to her. And yeah, if she can take any, experience from, internships and all of that, I definitely recommend that because it does help, with practice management.
Yeah, well, she's very fortunate. She has a summer internship at Latham this summer.
Perfect.
Yeah, so she's very lucky. What is something that you share with each client, like the piece of advice you give to almost every client in your, space of the law?
That is a really good question. I would definitely say that do not compare your case to anyone else, specifically with immigration law and with, we're dealing here with government agencies and they're not known to be, proactive. So do not compare your case to that of anyone else as, timings are a little bit different in each case, for sure.
Okay. Let me ask, since you focus on immigration, what do you tell your clients as far as financial planning, and how they should get themselves prepared to come here other than just buying a business?
Yeah, no, they should definitely have, a little bit of savings on their end. As getting a business started, it might not come up to speed, anytime soon. So it's definitely important to have some savings on the side, as it may take a while before you start earning some income from that business.
I would assume that most people that do this have some money, right? They have to be somewhat established to be able to afford to go through all this.
Yeah, definitely. Specifically when we're talking, about people from countries that, have a weaker currency than the US dollar. They're the ones that usually tend to have more money in savings just to have that little, gap or safety net.
Well, what's the biggest success story, meaning of the people you've helped come over? Have any of them really been an astounding success?
I would say there was a case from Honduras. And, specifically the person being from Honduras, it's even more difficult for them to come into this amount of money. He purchased a printing company and it's been going really good for him. Not only that, but he's been able to give his daughter the education that he wanted them to have because, they're here, they're in a private school, they're learning English. So he definitely wanted to do it to give them a better, opportunity in life.
That's wonderful. That's very nice. What's a mistake that you see a lot of your clients make that's really hard to undo?
Coming into the U.S. without having a specific plan of what they want to do and how they want to do it. Some of our clients do come into the U.S. and then they try and figure it out. And, sometimes when you do that, it does not give us the amount of time needed to, maybe give proper advice or have the time needed to work on their case as it should be.
Got it. So I usually ask people what's their biggest challenge, but I guess for you, it's starting your own firm.
Yes, that has been a big challenge, but it is something that we wanted to do. And yeah, so far, so good.
What would you say is your unique approach that sets you apart from other attorneys in your practice area that would make people want to come to you?
We are very detail oriented in the sense that, we're not here to just make business for the sake of it. We, like to tailor to what the client needs. Like I said, depending on the country you're from, you may have some visas that are available to you. Other countries, it may be a little bit more difficult. But at the end of the day, we try to do what works for the client within, their expectations, their budget, and what they want to do when they come into the U.S.
Okay, great. Is there anything we haven't touched on that you think the listeners might be interested in?
No, I think we've covered pretty much everything. The most important thing when coming or trying to come into the U.S. is to have a plan beforehand, just not come into the U.S. and try to figure it out once you're here. I would definitely advise that anyone that's interested in coming into the U.S. contact an immigration attorney beforehand, just so that they have a clear idea of, what they can expect.
With that said, how can listeners contact you if they are interested? What's the best way?
Yes. So we do have social media. We have Instagram and Facebook. You can find us as USA Immigration Consultants. We also have our website, immigrationconsultants.us. And yeah, you can Google us as Machado Guerrero Immigration Consultants and our webpage will come up.
Great. Well, I want to thank you for being on the show today. It was very informative, and I'm sure some of our listeners are going to avail themselves of your service. So once again, thanks very much.
No, thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to Taking Control of Your Financial Life. For more information about today's topics, please visit or check the show notes for more important information and links. Share, rate, and review this show on Apple Podcast or wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for listening.